You ever have one of those mornings where you walk into a room and think, "Now, what on earth did I come in here for?" We've all been there. Maybe the keys ended up in the fridge. Maybe a friend's name danced right on the tip of your tongue but just wouldn't come forward. If that sounds familiar, take a deep breath and smile. You're not alone, and more importantly, you're not broken. Growing older brings its fair share of quirks, but it also brings wisdom, laughter, and yes, plenty of chances to outsmart the aging process in ways that are not just effective but downright enjoyable. So, let me ask you this. When was the last time you did something just for the joy of it? Not because it was productive or necessary or expected, but simply because it lit you up inside. That little flicker of curiosity, play, or wonder, that's not just a nice feeling. That's your brain doing a happy dance. And today we're diving into something truly powerful. Hobbies that actually protect your brain as you age. You might be thinking, hobbies? Really? I thought I needed pills or puzzles. Well, sure, those can have their place, but what I'm talking about goes deeper. I'm talking about things that stir your spirit, keep your neurons firing, and bring a little more joy into the everyday. You don't need to be a scientist to understand the value of that. Just someone who's still got a little spark left and is willing to fan the flame. Now, I know after 60 things can shift. Some of us retire and suddenly find ourselves with more free time than we know what to do with. Others are helping care for a partner or grandkids and feel stretched in the opposite direction. Either way, the mind starts to change. And while that's natural, what's not inevitable is losing clarity, focus, or that sharp wit that's gotten you through so many moments in life. See, the brain is a lot like a garden. If we tend it, water it with curiosity, feed it with creativity, pull out the weeds of routine and stagnation, it thrives. Even in our 60s, 70s, and beyond, it can grow new connections, form new memories, even strengthen itself against age-related decline. And what better way to do that than through something you love? So today we're kicking off a conversation that's close to my heart. We're going to explore 6 simple but powerful hobbies that science shows can help protect your brain as you age. And don't worry, we're not talking about anything that'll have you climbing a mountain or learning how to code computers. These are things that feel good, that fit naturally into life, and that just might become the highlight of your day. Let's start with one that's as timeless as it is underestimated: creative expression. That could mean painting, playing music, writing poetry, or even coloring in one of those adult coloring books that have gotten so popular. When you engage in creative activities, you're using parts of your brain that stimulate memory, attention, and emotional processing all at once. It's like giving your brain a full-body workout without even breaking a sweat. I remember my neighbor Margaret. She picked up watercolors at 68. At first, she laughed and said, "I haven't held a paintbrush since grade school." But she gave it a go, and you should see her now. Every Tuesday afternoon, she's out on her porch painting landscapes from old family vacations. She says it's helped her feel more centered, more connected, and get this, she remembers details from those trips she hadn't thought about in decades. That's the magic of creativity. It doesn't just make something beautiful, it unlocks memories and emotions you thought were long gone. And you don't have to be good at it. This isn't about being the next Picasso or Beethoven. It's about giving your brain a little adventure. When you try something new, even if it's just scribbling in a notebook or humming a tune while making lunch, you're building mental pathways that help keep your brain flexible and strong. Now let's talk about a second powerful hobby: learning a new language or revisiting one you once knew. I know, this one might sound intimidating at first, but stick with me here. You don't have to become fluent. Even learning a few phrases or using an app for 10 minutes a day can be a game changer. Here's why. When you engage with another language, your brain has to work in complex, interconnected ways. You're recalling vocabulary, listening closely, interpreting tone, and often making sense of unfamiliar patterns. It's like a mental gymnastics routine. And the amazing thing? Your brain loves it. Studies show that bilingual individuals often show delayed onset of dementia symptoms compared to those who speak only one language. And guess what? That benefit can still show up after you start learning, even later in life. I had a gentleman named Carlos in one of our local community classes. He was 74 and had never studied another language in his life. But he started learning Italian because he wanted to connect more deeply with his family roots. He said he didn't expect to get very far. But over the months, he found that the simple daily practice of learning new words made him feel sharper, more alert, and even more confident. Now, every Sunday he calls his cousin in Naples and chats for 5 minutes in Italian. They laugh and stumble through it together, and you can just see the joy it brings him. If that's not a good reason to give it a try, I don't know what is. By the way, if anything we're talking about today is sparking something in you, maybe a memory or just a gentle nudge to try something new, I'd love it if you'd give this video a like or even share it with a friend. You never know who might need a little inspiration today, and your click might be what gets them started on something life-changing. So, my friend, whether it's a paintbrush or a phrasebook, the most important thing is to begin. Try something that lights you up, even just a little. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about showing up for yourself in ways that bring color and texture back into your everyday routine. And if you're wondering where to go from here, just keep hanging out with me a little longer. There's so much more I want to share with you. Let's keep this beautiful conversation going. Isn't it amazing how just the thought of picking up a paintbrush or learning a few words in a new language can open up a whole new corner of the mind? I always say we're never too old to feel a spark of wonder. And truthfully, our brains are always looking for that spark. Something new to chew on, something meaningful to hold on to. Now let's keep this lovely chat going. There's another hobby that, on the surface, might not seem like it belongs in a conversation about brain health, but oh, it absolutely does. That hobby is gardening. Yes, you heard me right. Getting your hands in the dirt, tending to a few plants, even just watering a windowsill herb garden, that's more powerful for the mind than most people realize. Here's the thing, gardening is deceptively complex. You're planning, you're remembering when to water, you're noticing subtle changes in your plants. All of that requires attention, memory, and a gentle kind of problem solving. And beyond that, there's a rhythm to gardening that soothes the nervous system and calms the mind. When your hands are busy in the soil, your brain gets a break from the noise of everyday worries. That quiet time does wonders. It creates space for reflection, for joy, even for healing. A dear friend of mine, Elaine, lost her husband a few years back. She told me that for months she felt like her mind was just foggy. Couldn't concentrate, couldn't finish a sentence sometimes. But when spring rolled around, she started spending just a little time in her backyard each morning. At first, it was just pulling weeds, clearing out old leaves. Then she started planting things, lavender, tomatoes, marigolds, and little by little her spark started coming back. She wasn't just growing a garden, she was growing herself back into life. She told me one day, "I thought I was healing the garden, but it was healing me." There's real science behind that too. Gardening has been shown to lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and help improve memory and focus. And it doesn't matter whether you have a big backyard or a single flower pot. What matters is that you're tending to something living, creating beauty, connecting to the earth, and giving your brain something gentle and nourishing to engage with. And while we're talking about connection, let's move into another hobby that is so underestimated when it comes to brain health: social dancing. Now, don't worry, nobody's asking you to twirl across a ballroom like Fred Astaire. But even simple, joyful movement to music, especially in the company of others, can be a powerful brain booster. Let me tell you why. Dancing isn't just physical, it's cognitive. Your brain has to coordinate steps, stay in rhythm, listen to music, and, if you're dancing with someone, stay connected to another person's cues. That's multitasking in the best, most joyful sense. Studies have even shown that regular dancing can significantly reduce the risk of dementia. Why? Because it combines so many healthy elements at once: movement, memory, balance, social interaction, and emotional expression. There's a woman I know named Joy. How perfect is that name, right? She started going to community center dance nights in her 60s, just once a week. A little swing, a little two-step. She said she'd never felt confident on a dance floor before, but the music made her feel alive again. Over time, she noticed her balance improved, her sleep got better, and her mind just felt clearer. She laughed and said, "I'm not solving puzzles or doing Sudoku, but I remember where I put my glasses these days." And beyond all the cognitive benefits, there's that feeling of connection. Dancing with someone, even in a small circle with friends, makes us feel less alone. And loneliness, as we know, can be one of the biggest threats to brain health as we age. Movement, laughter, shared music, it's medicine for the soul and the brain. And if dancing isn't quite your style, just moving to music at home can help too. Put on a song from your youth and sway in the kitchen. Let your body remember joy. That kind of gentle, rhythmic movement is nourishment your mind craves more than you might think. Now, if any of these stories or ideas have reminded you of something from your own life, a hobby you loved and lost touch with, or one you've been thinking about trying, I'd really love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and share your story with me. What's something that lights you up, or something new you've been curious about? When we share our experiences, we build something beautiful together, and your words might inspire someone else watching today. And I want to remind you of something, just in case no one said it to you recently: you are not too old to try something new. You're not too late. You're not behind. Every moment is a fresh page, and your story is still unfolding. I remember hearing someone say once, "At this age, I should be slowing down." And I looked at them and said, "Maybe, but not your mind, not your joy." Aging doesn't mean shrinking. It means refining, distilling what matters, and letting go of the rest. And these hobbies we're talking about, they aren't fluff. They're the threads that help hold you together. They're the things that remind you that you're still here, still curious, still wonderfully alive. So whether it's the soothing calm of gardening or the joy of dancing to your favorite old song, remember, it's never about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it with heart. Let's keep going, because there's more to explore, and I have a feeling we're just getting warmed up. Isn't it something like how the simplest things, such as getting your hands in the dirt, moving, or brushing color onto a canvas, can be so deeply powerful? They remind us that joy doesn't fade with age. If anything, it becomes more precious. Every step we take towards something that makes us feel alive is like sending a love letter to our brain. I haven't forgotten you. I'm still here. Let's keep going. So let's keep going, you and me. I want to talk now about something that doesn't always come up in conversations about hobbies, but should. Something that brings focus, quiet confidence, and a beautiful kind of discipline to the brain. That hobby is playing games. Yes, games. And I'm not just talking about crosswords and Sudoku, though those are wonderful too. I'm talking about strategic games, memory games, puzzles, even card games with friends. And let me tell you, when it comes to sharpening your mind, these can be a real powerhouse. There's this idea out there that games are just brain fluff, but let me tell you what I've seen. I used to visit a senior center every Thursday where a group would gather around for bridge. Now, I don't know if you've ever played bridge, but it's no joke. Strategy, memory, attention, teamwork, it's all in there. And I'd watch these folks, some in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, completely locked in. Laughing, thinking, remembering, competing, in the friendliest way, of course. And you could see it in their eyes, they were on. Engaged. Right. One gentleman, Henry, used to say, "This table keeps me young." And he meant it. When you play games that make you think, plan, or remember patterns, your brain is firing in all sorts of helpful ways. You're building up what scientists call cognitive reserve, kind of like a mental savings account that helps your brain stay resilient as you age. So even if life throws a few curveballs, your mind has more tools to work around the challenges. And the best part? It doesn't have to feel like work. Whether it's learning chess, playing Scrabble, or even exploring digital brain training apps on your tablet, if it gets you thinking, it gets you growing. Don't underestimate the power of play. Now, if you're not a game person, that's okay. There's something else that's just as powerful and maybe even more personal, and that's storytelling. I'm not just talking about writing novels or publishing books. Though if that's calling to you, by all means, go for it. I'm talking about telling your stories, sharing memories, writing down bits of your life, creating a record of the beautiful, messy, meaningful path you've walked. When you sit down to write a letter to a grandchild, record a voice memo about the day you met your spouse, or even scribble in a journal about what you're grateful for, that's storytelling. And it is gold for your brain. Why? Because storytelling exercises memory, language, emotion, and reflection all at once. It helps link past and present. It gives your mind a reason to organize thoughts, find the right words, and revisit moments with fresh perspective. It's deeply healing and mentally energizing. I've seen people's eyes light up as they remember details they hadn't thought about in years, like the smell of their mother's kitchen or the feel of their first bicycle ride. There's a woman named Ruth, 86 years old, who started keeping a story journal after her granddaughter asked, "Grandma, what were things like when you were my age?" That question opened the door. Every Sunday, Ruth writes one page, just one memory. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's sad. Sometimes it's about a neighbor no one remembers anymore. But every story is a gift. And over time, not only has it brought clarity and joy to Ruth, but it's created a treasure chest of wisdom for her whole family. If you're thinking, "Well, I'm not a writer," please toss that thought right out the window. You don't need to be a writer. You just need to be you. And no one else can tell your story the way you can. Even just talking aloud to a recorder or sitting with a photo album and recalling the day the picture was taken. Those little moments feed your brain in a beautiful way. And here's a gentle nudge while we're at this special moment in our conversation. If you've been finding this helpful, if something here is speaking to your heart, would you consider subscribing to this channel and turning on notifications? That way you'll never miss out on these little conversations we share together, and it helps more folks like you find their way to a bit of inspiration too. I like to think of it as building a little village of curious, wise, and growing minds, all walking this path together. You know, one of the most incredible things about this stage of life is that we finally get to choose what we spend our time on. Not because we have to, but because we want to. And when you give your time to something that brings your brain alive, something that keeps you thinking, moving, laughing, or remembering, you're not just keeping your mind sharp. You're feeding your soul. You're saying, "I'm still becoming. I'm still creating." Whether it's over a puzzle, a dance floor, a garden bed, or a journal page, what matters most is that it's yours. Your rhythm, your pace, your joy. And let me tell you something I believe with all my heart. It's never too late to begin again, to try something new, to reawaken a part of yourself that's been sleeping. Every single day you wake up is a new chance to protect your mind, to explore your heart, to connect with your story. So what do you say? Shall we keep going? There's still more to share, and I can't wait to explore it with you. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Realizing that the little things we choose each day, like playing a game, planting a seed, or telling a story, are actually big things when it comes to keeping our minds strong and our spirits lifted. I think that's one of the secret gifts of this season of life. We finally have the time to choose what matters most. And that includes choosing to care for our minds in ways that feel good, not forced. So let's lean into one more hobby that works wonders behind the scenes, one that's often overlooked because it seems so quiet. But let me tell you, it's a powerhouse, and that's learning something new. Now, I know that might sound a bit broad at first, but hang with me here. I'm not saying you need to go enroll in a university class or memorize a textbook. I'm talking about the joy of curiosity. That simple, beautiful moment when you say, "I've always wondered about that," and then you follow it. That could mean picking up a new language, yes. But it could also mean watching documentaries about space, or learning to play an instrument, or even figuring out how to fix that old radio you've had in the garage for years. When you learn something new, especially after 60, your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. You're not just absorbing information, you're forming new neural pathways. That's huge. And what's even more powerful is that when learning is tied to interest, when it's something you want to know, it sticks. It gives you energy, motivation, and a wonderful sense of purpose. One of my neighbors, Gerald, retired from teaching history at 67. You'd think he might take a break from learning, but do you know what he did instead? He started teaching himself how to speak Italian. What? Because he loved opera and always wanted to understand the lyrics. He practiced with free apps, watched videos, even found a little online group to chat with. And at 70, he traveled to Italy with his daughter and ordered dinner in perfect Italian. He told me, "It wasn't just about the words, it made me feel young again." That's the magic of it. Learning something new brings a youthful spark. It tells your brain, we're still in business, still curious, still alive. And speaking of aliveness, here's another hobby that's absolutely full of it: volunteering. Now, I know that may not sound like a typical brain-boosting activity at first glance, but oh, it is. In fact, it might be one of the most powerful of all. When you give your time and attention to others, when you mentor, help out at a local library, deliver meals, or even just make regular calls to check on folks, you're creating a meaningful connection between your heart, your hands, and your mind. You're using your memory to recall details, your empathy to understand others, your problem-solving skills to offer help. It's active, it's enriching, and it gives a deep sense of purpose, which is like a vitamin for your brain. I once met a woman named Dottie at a community event. She had the kindest eyes and the warmest smile. She told me she volunteers at a shelter every Wednesday, helping new moms learn how to care for their babies. She said, "I'm 82 and I don't move as fast as I used to, but my mind feels sharper now than it did 10 years ago." When I asked her what kept her coming back every week, she said, "It gives me something to wake up for. I matter to someone. That keeps my brain ticking." And isn't that what we all want? To feel useful, engaged, part of something bigger? That kind of purpose is fuel. It keeps the wheels turning upstairs, keeps the heart soft and the mind sharp. Now, I want to say something gently here, especially for those who might be watching and feeling like, well, that sounds lovely, but I've never really had hobbies. Or maybe life was too full of responsibilities, caregiving, or survival to make space for these kinds of things. If that's you, please hear me. There is no shame in starting now. None at all. You are not behind. There's no expiration date on discovery. Whether you're 60 or 90, you can pick up a new joy tomorrow, and it can still make a meaningful difference. Even something as small as keeping a daily curiosity list, where you write down things you'd like to learn, or watching a short how-to video each day, can keep your brain vibrant. And more importantly, it reminds you that you still matter. Maybe it's reading a new kind of book. Maybe it's joining a local club or attending a free community lecture. Maybe it's sitting with your grandchild and learning their world, how they see things, what they care about. That too is learning. That too is connection. And let me tell you something else. Your experience, your wisdom, your years on this earth, that's not just background noise. That's fuel. You've lived through changes, triumphs, heartbreaks, and beautiful surprises. Everything you've lived through makes you better equipped to learn now, not less. So if you're ever tempted to think, it's too late for me, I hope you'll gently remind yourself, your brain is still listening, still ready, still hopeful. And even if your memory's a little fuzzier than it used to be, or your hands aren't as steady, the desire to grow, that spark, never really goes away. Sometimes it just needs a little encouragement to rise up again. We've covered so much ground together already. And I don't know about you, but my heart feels full. These hobbies, these moments of curiosity and connection, aren't just brain exercises. They're invitations to come back home to yourself. There's still a bit more I'd love to share before we wrap this up, and I think it might just be the most heartfelt part yet. So stay with me, my friend, we're almost there. You've made it this far with me, and that alone says something powerful. It says you care about yourself, about your mind, your spirit, your future. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that. Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for showing up, for choosing to stay curious, for choosing life even in the smallest of ways. We've walked through a journey together, one filled with simple, meaningful ways to protect that beautiful brain of yours. And the truth is, every hobby we talked about is more than a pastime. It's a signal to your brain that you're still in motion, still alive, still full of worth and wonder. And now, as we reach the heart of it all, I want to say this clearly, gently, and with love. You are not fading. You are unfolding. Aging isn't about decline, it's about deepening. It's the time in life when you get to step into who you really are without apology, without rushing, without the pressure to prove anything. And the hobbies you choose now, they aren't about staying young. They're about staying you. Whether you're dancing in the living room, planting herbs by the window, playing bridge with friends, writing down your life story, or trying to figure out what that second button on the remote really does, it all matters. It all keeps the brain active, yes, but even more, it keeps the heart awake. One of the things I hear often when I talk to folks over 60 is this quiet little worry: what if I've missed my window? Maybe they didn't travel the world. Maybe they never picked up the guitar sitting in the corner. Maybe they never wrote the book or joined the choir or learned the names of the stars. And every time I hear that, I gently remind them, and maybe you need this reminder too, you're still here. And that means the window is still open. It doesn't matter if you're starting something new at 65, 78, or 92. Your brain will thank you. Your heart will thank you. And that little light inside, the one that maybe dimmed a little over the years, will start to glow again. Because it doesn't take much. Just one small step followed by another. A spark of interest. A moment of joy. You don't have to overhaul your life. You don't have to be perfect. Just begin. Begin somewhere. Choose one thing that speaks to you, no matter how small it seems. And give it 5 minutes today. That's all it takes to tell your brain, hey, we're still dancing. You know, when I think of someone living fully, I don't think of someone climbing mountains or writing symphonies, though those are wonderful too. I think of someone like my Aunt Eileen. She's 84, lives alone, and every morning she makes herself a cup of tea, sits in her cozy chair by the window, and reads one page of a poetry book out loud to herself. She says it helps her feel connected to something bigger than herself. That the words stir memories and awaken parts of her she hadn't visited in a while. And do you know what else she does? She keeps a tiny notebook where she writes down her favorite line of the day. That's it. Just one line. And that, to me, is a life well lived. That is someone protecting their mind and honoring their soul. You don't need to be busy to be fulfilled. You don't need to fill every hour to keep your brain sharp. You just need to do something with intention, with love, with curiosity. If you've ever felt like your best years are behind you, I'm here to say with all my heart, they're not. They're here, right now. Every moment you choose to laugh, to learn, to connect, to move, to express, to remember, you are stepping into something powerful. And remember, there is no right way to age well. There's only your way, the path that feels honest and joyful to you. So if this video has sparked something in you, if you felt even a flicker of inspiration or a whisper of, maybe I could try that, hold on to that. Don't let it slip away. Write it down. Set a little intention. Or better yet, go do it. Even just for a few minutes today. And if you think someone else in your life, maybe a friend, a neighbor, a family member, could use this same gentle encouragement, I'd be honored if you shared this video with them. We need more spaces that honor this stage of life as sacred, not forgotten. That see the years as wisdom, not a burden. That speak to the soul, not just the symptoms. You're part of that. You're helping to shape a community that values experience, presence, and purpose. And for that, I thank you. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to like this video, leave a comment if something touched your heart, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep having these conversations together. This little corner of the internet is just getting started, and I'd be honored to walk alongside you. Here's to living your best life at any age, to protecting your mind with joy, curiosity, and courage, to dancing with time, not racing against it, and most of all, to remembering that who you are is enough, exactly as you are right now. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself, keep your heart open, and don't forget, you're still becoming.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It truly means a lot. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend or loved one who might benefit, and leave a comment below. We love hearing your thoughts and experiences. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest tips and uplifting advice for living your best life at any age. Now, if you're ready for more wisdom and encouragement, just click the video that's on your screen right now. It's packed with even more insights made just for you. Take care, stay positive, and we'll see you in the next one.